and welcome back to Inclusion Revolution here on Eastlink with Tova, and Paul's joining me. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
For those of you who haven't been watching all of our shows, and I can't imagine why not, Paul is, in addition to helping us put the show together, is also a person with disability, just like me, and comes every week with some really good medical breakthrough news, which I think is really an important element of the show of Inclusion Revolution, is to give you information that's going to affect the way you look at disabilities or the disabilities of people you know. So Paul, tell me, what have you got for us today?
Well, there's a fascinating article, Tova, that came out connecting a link between diabetes and Alzheimer's.
Really?
So Dr. Margaret Gatz, who is a professor of psychology and gerontology and preventative medicine at the University of Southern California, examined sets of twins in Sweden, because in Sweden they have a twin registry. So basically what the twins do, they register, and then over the course of their life they can really study very closely, because they're so genetically similar. They can really get a clear distinction between why one would develop diabetes, why one would develop dementia, and why the other one wouldn't. So in this study they looked at Swedish twins, and what they did is they discovered that if someone developed type 2 diabetes before the age of 65, it increased their risk of dementia, developing especially Alzheimer's, by 125%.
Okay, wait a minute. I need to digest that.
Right.
So what I'm hearing is those of us who develop type 2 diabetes, which traditionally is linked to obesity and diet and exercise, those of us who might end up having that are 125% more likely to develop dementia, and specifically Alzheimer's?
Exactly.
According to this study. That's huge.
It's a huge study. It's a huge development in trying to figure out what are the risk factors that can prevent it. Because there's vascular dementia, and then there's Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the most popular form of dementia, but vascular...
Not popular with the people who have it.
No.
Sure.
No, but vascular dementia is basically related to the same risk factors as a stroke. So what they're saying is, if you take care of your high blood pressure, if you take care of your cholesterol, if you take care of all the preventative illness-related things that you can do for yourself that reduce your risk of diabetes, that will also reduce your risks for Alzheimer's. That
is a shocking report, frankly. I almost have to digest that it's 125% more likely to develop dementia because of type 2 diabetes. What another good reason for us to really start watching what we eat and how we eat, and of course the healthy lifestyle that we've always been told about, but this is a whole new reason, really. And it's really interesting because it sort of brings us to our poll of the week as well. And I know I get to read the poll of the week.
Right.
Now remember, everybody, the poll of the week is up on the website at inclusionrevolution.com. You can vote there. Additionally, if you have any other questions or comments on either our news or our guests, again, feel free to go to inclusionrevolution.com. So today's poll is, I have to read it so I get it right, considering the link between diabetes and Alzheimer's, I want to know how many of our listeners have an annual medical checkup that includes blood analysis to determine early signs of illness, and that certainly would include diabetes type 2.
Exactly, because a lot of people go for an annual checkup, but they don't necessarily ask their doctor for a complete blood analysis that would give you blood lipids, would give you an early sign of, are you developing type 2 diabetes? Are you developing, are there signs of illness that are small at the moment that we can prevent it from growing into a larger?
Let me ask you one quick question, and perhaps you don't have the answer based on the research that you've done to date, but do they have any comments about what if you get type 2 and then you're really, really healthy and you sort of don't have type 2 anymore? Has there been any suggestion that if you have it but then don't because you overcome it through diet and health, that perhaps this statistic doesn't refer to you?
Well, they're saying that, they could separate the treatment. Basically, they're saying the treatment options identify those who were controlled versus poorly controlled. So, for example, if someone who has diabetes really takes care of themselves and brings their diabetes out and brings it down.
And again, we're talking type 2, yeah.
Type 2, then the significant adjustment will lower their risk.
Okay, so if you know it and you do have type 2 and you're being told this and it's something that you can maybe manage or do better on, the odds are better if you can manage it as soon as possible.
Exactly.
According to this research, you're less likely then to be in that 125% toward the dementia. And that's a really important message. So that tells all of us, and I include me in that by using what we know around healthy eating, healthy living, and a holistic lifestyle, that we don't just reduce the obvious health effects such as obesity and type 2 diabetes, but we also assist ourselves as we live older in possibly not getting that some form of dementia that might otherwise have been predisposed to based on the diabetes. And that's pretty interesting stuff.
It is.
So I urge you all to check the website, vote on the poll. If you're not getting those blood tests, I think it's time to ask for them, so that if you are a person that might be starting to show signs of type 2 diabetes, you can get right on that. And not just for those obvious reasons, but for the latest reasons that we've heard about. Now, I also wanted to give you just a little taste of some of our upcoming episodes, because I know we're winding down. First of all, let me thank again Sharon Rutland from the Cambridge Suites. She really is what I call that employer of choice. She's trying very hard to find ways to be this inclusive employer, and I applaud her efforts, and I look forward to working with her and many of you down the road. I know we're going to be having a guest coming very soon on men in social services.
Correct.
I call it Where Are the Men? And this isn't about dating. It's about where are the men in social services. And we also have some discussions coming up on the mental health court.
Correct.
So I want to thank you all for joining us this week. I always feel like we don't have enough time, but for Eastlink Television, for Paul and myself, and for Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week, Monday nights at 9 and Sunday nights at 8 for Inclusion Revolution. And check out the website, inclusionrevolution.com. Take care.